Anne-Marie Gray is the Executive Director of Open New York. Anne-Marie, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Support for WNYC comes from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, helping public radio advance journalistic excellence in the digital age. The Knight Foundation believes informed and engaged communities are essential for healthy democracy. More at kf.org.
On the next All of It, Top Chef is returning for its 21st season, and judge and cookbook author Gail Simmons has been with it from the beginning. She joins us to discuss the show and take your calls about your favorite Top Chef moments. Plus, the storied Paramount Theater is reopening. We'll talk about its past and future with Brooklyn's official borough historian. Join us for All of It, weekdays at noon on WNYC.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm James Menendez. Today on NewsHour, the widening rift between the White House and the Netanyahu government over aid to Gaza. We'll talk to the Democratic senator who says it's time for the US to stop sending weapons to Israel. Also, might Germany soon ban its beloved dachshund? That's BBC NewsHour at 9 on WNYC.
.44 with clouds out there. We might get some drizzle and light rain this morning and this afternoon. We'll have some clouds, mid-50s for a high, and then tonight, low of 48, off and on rain again tomorrow, maybe, and a high in the mid-50s. Friday looks like we'll be dry in the mid-50s as well. This weekend, sunshine and high temperatures right around 60 with a slim chance of morning showers, wetting those Easter bonnets on Sunday morning. Oh, it's 8:52.
The child care crisis in America just got some relief.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Twilio Segment. Segment helps every team access good data that's real-time, clean, and accurate. The result is relevant customer experiences that drive real revenue. Segment.com. And by Schwab. Schwab offers investors choices like full-service wealth management, self-directed investing options, and trading on Thinkorswim. More at Schwab.com.
I'm David Brancaccio. In the latest government funding bill just approved by Congress and the White House, there is a $1 billion increase for programs focused on child care and early childhood learning. Marketplace's Kimberly Adams has our story.
This new funding includes an additional $275 million for the Head Start program and $725 million more for the Child Care and Development Block Grant. That's roughly a 30% increase in the funds, which states choose how to spend.
One way that states might choose to use this increased funding is to increase subsidy eligibility thresholds.
Susan Gale Perry is CEO of the nonprofit Child Care Aware of America,
which means that more families would have access to help paying for child care. It may also be used for things like improving the rates that states pay for child care providers so that they can attract and retain qualified staff and increase the quality of their programs.
The increase brings the program totals to about $21 billion. Child care advocates say that reflects bipartisan support for early childhood education. Julie Cashin is a senior fellow at the Century Foundation.
We got this $1 billion increase that's going to help the programs that exist, but we need so much more.
Cashin says these new funds show Congress's growing awareness of the lack of affordable child care in the U.S. But
right now, we need $16 billion in emergency child care funding to make sure that the child care sector can be stable on an ongoing basis.
Because even with this boost in funding, existing programs are only serving a fraction of eligible families, says Sarah Rittling, who runs the First 5 Years Fund, a D.C.-based children's advocacy group. For example, through those child care and development block grants to states,
14% of eligible families are served with the $8+ billion that we have.
And when it comes to Head Start, which provides support for low-income children and their families,
We're serving roughly 36% of eligible families and 11% of eligible families in early Head Start. So we have our work cut out for us.
Still, advocates say this increase in funding is a win, especially given the extremely contentious process and tight budgets that led to the final appropriations agreement. In Washington, I'm Kimberly Adams for Marketplace.
Markets, Dow and S&P futures are up 0.4%. NASDAQ futures are up 0.5%. The average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is near 6.9%, down from an 8% peak in October. It is cheaper to rent a place to live than to own one in the 50 largest metro areas now, this according to Realtor.com. Rental costs are down for 7 months straight, but down just 0.4% in a year to a typical $1,700 a month rent versus more than $2,700 a month for the median starter home. Broadly, there's not enough houses and apartments in America to meet demand. That plus higher interest rates to fight inflation.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Disney, announcing that Disney will host its annual meeting of shareholders on April 3rd with a board of directors election. Learn more about voting at votedisney.com. And by Brains On, the wildly popular podcast for kids is coming to a theater near you with a hilarious science-themed live show. More at brainson.org/events.
It's quite a ride for former President Donald Trump's stock that launched on the NASDAQ market yesterday. Early on, Trump Media and Technology Group Corporation soared 59%. Then in the last hour of trading, a drop toward earth, ending the day at $57.99, a gain of 16% on the day. The initial public offering was initially valuing the company at $10 billion. But what is really under the hood in that company? I spoke to Jay Ritter, a professor of finance at the University of Florida. Welcome.
Good morning.
Would an analyst see $10 billion of actual value?
If you look at the company as a result of this SPAC merger, it's got about $300 million of cash. But will it be highly profitable in the future that could justify such a high valuation? Very unlikely. The company only has annual revenue of about $5 million. It's losing money. And in terms of where does it get that revenue? Well, it's a combination of advertising and paying subscribers, but neither of those sources of revenue is growing very rapidly. So this valuation is just crazy.
So it may not be an investment in the traditional sense of investment. It may be more like putting a Trump for president placard out in front of your house, a sign of support for a candidate, maybe?
My guess is that almost everybody buying the stock are Trump supporters, where it's more a purchase out of showing loyalty rather than thinking about this as a good long-term investment.
Now, as the majority shareholder, former President Trump's net worth on paper right now has increased significantly given the stock price and that company's valuation. This is a potential windfall for Mr. Trump in the billions of dollars, but my understanding is company rules are he can't sell right now and cash out. Could the company change that rule?
As a standard with these SPAC mergers, shareholders are locked up typically for 6 months, as is the case here. His lockup prohibits selling, but also using the stock as collateral for a loan. Now, the board of directors, in theory, could waive this 6-month lockup, but if they did so, the stock price would probably immediately drop. So the ability to convert this paper wealth into cash is pretty limited.
Well, it'll be interesting to watch progress for this stock for the next few days. Jay Ritter, a professor of finance at the University of Florida. Thank you very much for helping us with this.
You're welcome.
Mentions the acronym SPAC, Special Purpose Acquisition Company, a way to raise capital to buy an existing company, in this case, Trump's Truth Social. Now, that stock is up 18% in pre-market trading this morning. Careful when you check ticker symbol DJT. On many systems, instead of the Donald J. Trump stock, you get the Dow Jones Transportation Average instead. I'm David Brancaccio, Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.